At its completion, the Fredericksburg Health Care Center will increase our ability to care for our local veterans and allow us to uphold the VA's mission to fulfill President Lincoln's promise to care for those who have served our nation's military and for their families, caregivers, and survivors. I myself am a Navy veteran with a long history of service in my own family. My father, my grandfather, my brother, and my stepfather all selflessly served. I joined the Navy in 1990 at the beginning of Operation Desert Shield. I knew when I took my oath that there was a high likelihood that I might be sent somewhere dangerous to do something I had never experienced or done before. It was by far the scariest and most exciting time of my young life, but I was made ready. Fortunately for me, my deployment platform was the USNS Comfort. However, that was not the case for many of my shipmates. Several were deployed to Marine battalions right out of training, and like many who served before them during times of war, whether physically or mentally, they came back changed from their experiences. Thus, I am deeply grateful for the opportunity to stand before you as a representative of those sailors and soldiers addressing such a remarkable assembly. To my fellow veterans, your courage, dedication, and sacrifice have safeguarded the freedoms we cherish. Your unwavering commitment has not only shaped our nation's history, but also inspired countless individuals, including myself. It was the veterans in my life that inspired me to want to put on the uniform and serve. Those valiant souls who answered the call, wearing the uniform, knowing full well the risks involved. Both men and women from many walks of life who served our country with courage and distinction. To our distinguished guests, your support and recognition of these heroes underscores the profound respect and gratitude we all share for their service. Today, as we gather, I am reminded of the strength and resilience that defines our veteran community. It is my sacred privilege to take part in today's event and to contribute to the ongoing efforts to support and uplift those who have given so much for our country. Some of you may not be aware of the symbol of this small red flower, the red poppy. If you'd indulge me, I'd like to talk about this little tradition and how it became. World War I raged from 1914 to 1918. Also known as the Great War, it took a greater human toll than any previous conflict, with some 8.5 million soldiers having lost their lives to battlefield injuries or disease. Across northern France and Flanders, what is now known as northern Belgium, these brutal clashes destroyed fields and forests, tearing up trees and plants and wreaking havoc on the land. But in the warm early spring of 1915, bright red flowers began peeking through the battle-scarred land. Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae, a Canadian physician who had lost his close friend, Lieutenant Alexis Helmer, spotted a cluster of these poppies, and it inspired his poem, In Flanders Fields, in which he channeled the voice of the fallen soldiers buried under these hardy poppies. The poem was published in 1915 and would become one of the most famous works of art from the period. A version of the poppy, made from either paper or fabric, would later be used to raise money as a way to fund restoration of war-torn Europe. An English campaign in November of 1921, managed by the newly founded Royal British Legion, sold millions of silk flowers and raised over £106,000, which was a rather large sum for the time. Those funds went towards finding employment and housing for veterans. In 1922, a poppy factory was set up in Richmond, England, in which disabled servicemen were employed to make the fabric and paper blooms. Many nations soon followed suit in adopting the red poppy as their official symbol of remembrance. Today, millions of people in the United Kingdom, Canada, France, Belgium, Australia, and New Zealand wear the red flowers on Remembrance Day or Armistice Day every November 11th, or what we in the United States know as Veterans Day, to commemorate the anniversary of the 1918 armistice. I'm going to read the poem I do get a little emotional sometimes, so apologize if I start to cry. Hopefully I'll get through it. So here is the poem that inspired this symbol. In Flanders Field by John McCrae, 1915. In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the lark still bravely singing fly, scarce heard among the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders field. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow, in Flanders field. In the United States, we wear the symbolic red flower on Memorial Day to commemorate the sacrifice of so many who have given their lives fighting for their country. Memorial Day is a solemn occasion. It is a time to reflect on the brave individuals who gave their lives so that we may live in freedom. As we enjoy the freedom and privileges of our daily lives, it's important to pause and recognize the sacrifices made by our service members and their families. The phrase Gold Star family also dates back to World War I. It was tradition for military families to display service flags with a blue star for every immediate family member serving in the armed forces. When a family lost a loved one, that blue star was changed to gold, prompting the term Gold Star family. Subsequently, the individual members of this fallen service heroes became known as Gold Star mothers, Gold Star spouses, and so on. In 1928, a Gold Star mother, Grace Darling, along with 25 other grieving mothers, founded the American Gold Star Mothers, an organization devoted to keeping the memory of deceased service members alive. In 1936, President Franklin D. Roosevelt designated the last Sunday of September as National Gold Star Mothers Day. This year it falls on Sunday, September 29th. It is intended to recognize and honor those mothers who have lost a son or daughter in the service of the U.S. Armed Forces. Even though the void of their loss can never be filled, Gold Star families deserve to be honored for the sacrifice of their loved one. How do we do this? One way to honor Gold Star families is to educate your friends and families about what it means to be a Gold Star family and the ultimate sacrifice endured by them to receive this distinction. The other way is through Memorial Day observances like today. Memorial Day is not just about picnics and barbecues, although those are important traditions. Today is a day of remembrance, a time to pay tribute to those who have fallen in defense of a grateful nation. It's a day to visit cemeteries, to lay wreaths, and to thank the veterans who are still with us for their service and sacrifice. As we gather with family and friends on this Memorial Day, let us take a moment to reflect on the true meaning of this day. Let us honor the memory of those who have gone before us, and let us renew our commitment to upholding the values for which they fought and died. May we never forget the sacrifices of our fallen heroes. May we always remember their courage, their dedication, and their selflessness. And may we strive to be worthy of the freedoms they have secured for us.